We are live now.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure and pride to welcome all the dignitaries, industry stalwarts, and delegates to our today's book discussion by Sri Hari Khemka, his autobiography, On the Move. The book captures his journey as a relentless entrepreneur, spreaded over 5 decades and multiple facets to his personality. Before I introduce you to our panelists, 2 minutes about myself. I'm Dr. Megha Mittal, who's going to be your moderator for the day. I am a psychologist by education, but a leadership consultant by my profession. Have been in the domain of leadership consulting over a decade, and in my profession, it has given me an opportunity to be introduced to multiple leaders across the globe. There are certain leaders who touch our lives, and Mr. Khemka is definitely one of them. As one of the core mission and vision of ASSOCHAM, we try to empower Indian entrepreneurs by inculcating knowledge that will be catalyst towards their growth. And that's exactly today's book launch is going to do. Today's book launch has been organized to see the making of CP Plus as India's first and biggest brand in security and surveillance industry by Sri Hari Khemka. We all are very much aware of the famous tagline by CP Plus, Upar wala sab dekh raha hai. So today we are going to explore the journey. How did it happen? What made it happen that Upar wala sab dekh raha hai became the biggest brand in the country? Knowing Mr. Khemka for more than 6 years, he definitely symbolizes the famous quote that says that a true entrepreneur is a doer rather than a dreamer. Today, we are also fortunate to have an esteemed group of panelists. We will be introducing you to all these panelists in a while, but first of all, I'm going to be introducing Mr. Tanmay Chakrabarti to all of us. He is going to address and welcome Sri Hari Khemka for today's book launch. Sri Tanmay Chakrabarti is actually the Group Government Affairs Officer and he represents Tata Sons Private Limited. He closely works with Tata Sons and the Tata companies in government relations to help and support businesses and identify opportunities as well as for government stakeholders outreach. In his previous role, Mr. Chakrabarti was Vice President and Global Head of the Government Industry Solutions Unit at Tata Consultancy Services, a position he has held since January 2004. A very warm welcome to Mr. Chakrabarti. I would like you to welcome Mr. Hari Khemka, introduce him, and of course, address our audience. Over to you, Mr. Chakrabarti. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Dr. Mittal, and very, very good evening to all participants, panelists, and our moderator for this evening. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, I welcome all of you to this exciting discussion on the book named On the Move, authored by Sri Hari Khemka, also a successful entrepreneur who set up the fastest growing brand for the surveillance industry in India. The ASSOCHAM is India's apex chamber of commerce and industry, set up in 1920, 100 years ago, is indeed privileged to be associated with the discussion on the book written by Sri Hari Khemka ji. As mentioned by Sri Ravi Shankar ji, Hari Khemka ji's life carries many lessons for young and old entrepreneurs across the globe. Born into a traditional Marwadi family from Churu, Rajasthan, and growing up in Chandni Chowk in Old Delhi, Hariji got involved with the family business early on in his life. Like every entrepreneur's story is different, each follow the unique path to success. Sri Hari Khemka ji stands out because of the sheer range of his entrepreneurship, from textiles and paper to household goods, metals, steel, IT hardware and software, real estate, sound technology, education, and finally surveillance solutions. That's quite a journey and a varied one at that. Today, Sri Khemka ji dominates the field of security and surveillance through his flagship company CP Plus, which is the youngest and the fastest brand to enter the club of top 4 security companies in the world and top 2 in Asia, which is indeed laudable. With the recent Supreme Court judgment, which enforces CCTV cameras across all the police stations and enforcement agencies and offices, the business of surveillance and security solutions is only bound to grow and leapfrog in the near future. Sri Hari Khemka ji's book, On the Move, captures his journey as a relentless entrepreneur, peppered with incredible anecdotes of his business failures and triumphs. Sri Hari Khemka ji's book, On the Move, has been widely appreciated by some of the leading thought leaders and spiritual gurus, as I mentioned, including Sri Ravi Shankar ji, and prominent industrialists, including Dr. Raghupati Singhania, Dr. Rajendra Somani, amongst many others. It is my privilege to formally welcome Sri Hari Khemka ji, the author of the book On the Move, and a successful business entrepreneur, for today's discussion. And I also thank him for giving all of us his valuable time. I extend a warm welcome to all other eminent distinguished panelists and speakers, the delegates, and all our friends from the media who are attending this virtual book discussion this evening. Thank you once again, and over to you, Dr. Mittal.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chakraborty, for wholeheartedly welcoming all our delegates, speakers, panelists, and of course, Sri Hari Khemka over there. Now I would like to introduce our second panelist for the day, and he is a very renowned name in the media industry, Dr. Anurag Batra, who is the chairman and editor-in-chief for Business World. Anurag Batra is a serial entrepreneur, media mogul, a journalist, and an eternal optimist rolled into one. He's a BTech in computer science, a degree which he acquired before joining Management Development Institute, MDI Gurgaon, which is now known as Gurugram, one of India's leading business schools. He's a first-generation entrepreneur, and after acquiring the iconic business media and magazine brand Business World, a 35-year strong media brand as well as most respected business publication in the country. Since taking over Business World 13 months back, Mr. Batra has expanded Business World into digital events and Business World communities and has taken into its fold www.digitalmarket.asia, a leading website on digital marketing, www.everythingexperiential.com, India's leading experiential marketing website, and launched Business World Hotelier in partnership with Hotelier International. Business World Smart Cities, an editorial platform in a 360-degree format, is to be launched in mid-February 2015. Mr. Batra is building the Business World business very aggressively. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Batra. Over to you. We would like you to address our audience for the day. Dr. Batra,
as a good host.
Yes, thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, now yes. Thank you.
Good evening. I said it's my honor and privilege to be here, and thank you for hosting this so well. Tanmoy for introducing Mr. Khemka so very well and summing up the multifaceted personality that he is. I have a copy of the book. Today, the hero is Mr. Khemka, and the context is the book. So we'll talk a lot more about him and what's in the book. First of all, it's a lovely title, On the Move. You know, it kind of in 3 words sums up. It's very tweetable. It sums up what the book is all about. And, you know, its subtext is my journey as a relentless entrepreneur. The word relentless and entrepreneur go hand in hand. You can't be an entrepreneur and lie back on your laurels. You're always scaling up. I've been able to read part of the book and hopefully in the next few days complete it. Mr. Khemka, I just wanted to ask you that in this book, you put a lot of emphasis on the right time to exit the businesses. The right time to enter is important, but when to exit is equally or possibly more important. Tell us, why do you have that philosophy? And give us some snippets on that from the book. Mr. Khemka, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Batra. As we all know, that exit is a very popular word in the corporate world. If today, for any private equity player, if they invest in your company, they always have a well-defined exit clause. So, in my book, although we never dealt with private equity players, but the exit was when we found that the business line was not as lucrative and has no growth potential, or maybe someone is not handling it properly. That is what I meant by exit clause.
Cut your losses. If you don't find something, don't be emotional about it. Don't get attached to the line of business or the business, but take a decision like, you're from Churu in Rajasthan and, you're a true Marwadi. So take Mr. Khemka, in the last 8 months, I've talked to billionaires who built very large companies, who are first generation entrepreneurs. And one thing has happened is that the Marwadi way of doing business has become the way of doing business in the last 8 months. No longer we just talk of valuation, the money raised, but we're talking of profitability. We're talking of billings. How much money did we bill this month? And was it more than the money we spent? So, clearly, you being a Marwadi and being from a Marwadi family from Churu know this. The other thing is this notion in business of being a journalist and a specialist. When I say a journalist, I mean with a G, journalist, as in somebody who has an appreciation of all subdomains and all functions of business. So because you did these multiple businesses, you did steel, you did IT, you did household goods, you did sound technology, you did education, and finally surveillance solution. So, we never know whether it's your journalist approach that made you successful or the fact that at the end of it, you became a specialist and you conquered the world in one domain.
Well, that's a good question. I would say that, of course, a specialist is always preferred. As they say, that you should not be jack of all and master of none. Why I entered different businesses was that during my times, there was a limit to expansion and growth. Moreover, I had to create businesses for my brothers. And so, a lot of hard work was done to learn the tricks of the trade and hand over to my siblings. Now, both my sons are specialists in their own fields. Aditya is specializing in IT and surveillance and is running CP Plus, providing surveillance solutions. And more than 80% of our products of CP Plus are developed, designed, and manufactured in India from our factory at Tirupati. Rishi, my younger son, is looking after media and entertainment, education, software, and also professional audio. His passion is to give high quality and relevant education to the students. He is successfully running his brand, Mindbox, which is into betterment of education system in the country. So why I said that was with the change of times, specialization always pays. So both my sons are specialists in their own fields.
Thank you so much. Yeah. You rightly said that experience is what gets you to understand everything, and then you eventually become, by doing and by achieving, become a known domain expert, and that's how you expand. That's how I am listening what you're saying, and I just want to hand over back to Dr. Megha Vittal. But just before I do that, so that he can bring other panelists, I just want to ask you a question, which is a combination. One, what is the playbook for writing a book? Is there a playbook to writing a book, and how did you come across writing this book? How much time did you take? And second, what are the rules of entrepreneurship that have changed in the last 8 months specifically? I know some rules are still true: be frugal, dream big, execution is everything. Ideally, have a differentiation in the business. All those were true 8 months back, they're true now. But what are the new rules that COVID has brought into kind of play? So what is your playbook to write a book if you're a busy executive or a promoter of a company? And second, how have the rules of entrepreneurship changed in the last 8 months?
See, there is no such thing like a defined playbook for writing your autobiography. So it comes from Like you take a lot of time in recalling all the anecdotes of because every day we do hundreds of things. So in the last 60 years, must be so many things. So it was only that you recollect, pen it down, and then decide which one you have to put, which is more important for giving inspiration to people, and which is not. So that's how it was done. What was your other question? Yeah, in the last 8 months during COVID,
Okay.
things have changed. Like there was especially in our business, there was no terminology called work from home. So once that thing has started, secondly, the main thrust has gone on online business. So we are also going online on CP Plus, and also our education segment and some segments which can't be done online, that were badly hit, like professional audio, media and entertainment. So they were badly hit. But other things, mainly during this COVID period, maximum growth was online. Like we are doing online thing. Had it been earlier, it would have been a physical.
Absolutely. We've become virtual.
Yeah. So everything is become virtual.
So, but Mr. Khemka, I have two hypotheses. One is the more we become virtual, the value of human touch and face-to-face. I'm looking forward to meeting Ajay and Tanmoy and each one of you over a cup of tea or a coffee at possibly my favorite place. And second, the more, a lot of things we are doing right now through virtual, because we have a compulsion. At some stage, we'll have a choice. And then we'll have to see what are the things that will stay and what are the things that will go. Because as human beings, we are social creatures. So we like human connect. And there are advantages of virtual, clearly. It scales up. We are able to get a much bigger audience. It saves time in certain cases, saves travels, saves costs. So all the best in your book, I'm sure. Let me bring out the cover prominently. It's in the background, but it's a book I'm sure I'll enjoy reading fully. And I'm sure all our audiences. I said two questions, but journalists always want a little more. Though I'm more an entrepreneur and less a journalist, if there was ever a movie made on your life, who'd play you in that movie?
Well, that I have never thought, but it can be anyone. It can be my son also. So, I don't think I'm planning to make a movie on me.
Yeah. Never say never, Mr. Khemka. Never say never.
Yeah.
So back to Ms. Mittal. To Dr. Mittal.
I'm not planning. I didn't say never.
Thank you so much, Dr. Batra and Mr. Khemka.
My son to act is not a way of signing up money with Baman Irani just in case he did the acting. But I'm sure it was a spontaneous answer. Back to you, Dr. Mittal.
Thank you so much, Dr. Batra, for actually asking such interesting questions. In fact, that led me to your last question, which you asked, that who would play a role for Mr. Khemka in his autobiography, in his biopic. Actually, knowing Mr. Khemka's connections, Bollywood connections, that's what the book also talks about. I'm sure most of the actors would be more than happy to play his role in his biopic. That's what I feel so. And also, thank you so much for bringing up the exit clause, because I think last few months, we all have clearly witnessed the difference between being emotional and emotionally intelligent. And that's what Mr. Khemka's book talks about, that there's a difference in being emotionally attached to your business and having emotional intelligence at the same time. For the benefit of our listeners, we would come back to the book again and get into some very interesting details about the book. But before that, I would like to introduce our next panelist with us, Sri Anil Puri, who's the chairman and managing director for AP Securitas Private Limited. Mr. Anil Puri, graduate in hotel management, his creative entrepreneurship helped him to identify the potential and the shape of things to come in the field of private security industry in India at a very early stage. This led him to enter this field in 1984 and establish AP Securitas in 1986. As one of the pioneers in this field, he has been part of the journey private security industry has undertaken till now. In the field of cash in transit, cash replenishment services, he had conceived of and created Security Trans India Private Limited and steered it to become a very formidable player in this field, and the same acquired by Blackstone, a US-based PE investor, through CMS in 2011. Besides leading the APS group, which has carved out a reputation for being a rapidly growing, innovative, dependable, and sought after service provider, he is also an active participant in various activities that take place in the industry and has received a large number of honors, awards, and accolades, which includes CAPSI's Security Personality of the Year 2019. In a spirit of giving back to the society, he's encouraging, incubating, and mentoring various startups and is also supporting various philanthropic activities. Firstly, Shri Puri, I would really like to congratulate you for having such an impressive profile. It really inspires our generation to do better and better. Over to you, Mr. Puri.
Good evening, Meghaji, and thank you very much for this glowing accolade that you have given me, and it's does more than what I have done for that, but thank you very much. So coming back to the subject which we have today of Khemka Sahab, I was very fascinated by the fact that he has established very clearly that business has the basic adage which is cash flow. That is where the entire business is focused. I would like to ask Khemka Sahab one simple question as a continuation of the cash flow business. That where does he see this new world of business? How does the cash flow effect come into this place? Khemka Sahab.
When I joined business, there was a terminology called daily padta system, which defined the complete cash flow and everything, which was actually started by the Birlas. So every day you come to know how much you have lost, how much you have gained, and how much surplus cash you have to take over to the next day. Unfortunately, in today's world, it has totally changed. The cash flow and everything is all based on market valuation of your shares. So people are not actually looking after the cash generation in business. Even if the business is in loss, then you find that the market valuation or capitalization is companies become unicorns. So I think I firmly believe the business, even if we have an investor, it should generate its funds on its own. Yeah,
I totally agree with you, Khemka Sahab, because as you rightly said, the unicorns of today, quite a few of them are financially in losses, and they are basically running on the funds which come in from the investors. The end of the day, the business basically depends upon how much of money you make in the business. You're not talking of valuation, but then that's the new world in which we live. But having said that, sir, thank you very much for being able to explain that. I had one question which I wanted to ask you, that a lot of these legacy companies have a certain value system which a new employee must inculcate when he joins this thing, and so that he can work properly. Now, where does that part of it work in your organization? How do you do that with your new employees?
well, it is always advisable for the new employees to blend with the company culture. However, I always welcome suggestions for any change or betterment from any employee. We don't have any strict charter for employees, and they are free to perform and deliver, but following company's culture and ethics. Ethics is something which we want all employees to follow. Moreover, we don't treat them as employees, and we feel that they are our extended families. For any business to succeed, it is imperative for the employees to strive for excellence and attain job satisfaction. That is what we new employees.
Sir, it's very fascinating that you've actually talked, because having, well, let me put it this way, that you have a Marwadi way of doing business. yet you have brought it into the fact that there is going to be a modern approach toward the whole this thing, which is the accepted norm in the new international ways of working. So that blend must have been it must be fine-tuned by you to a very large extent. How the Marwadi way of doing business vis-a-vis the structured way of doing business. How did you manage that part of it?
Well, actually, change in life is always there. You have to change with the times. So, in the 70s and 80s, it was that old Marwadi culture. Now, we have adopted to the change. It's a computer age, and we are going for corporate training, then employee motivation, teamwork, all these things we are doing, and of course the working and the policies of the companies are also quite modern. In this, I would say that I learned this from my father. He told me that my grandfather was very pragmatic. He did away with so many old rituals which had no significance. So it is better to change with the times rather than stick to the old way of doing business.
That having said that, and the fact that at various points in our discussion, as well as with the previous speaker, Dr. Batra, you mentioned the fact that when you started the business to where you are today. So I would like to say that if you had that one opportunity to go back in time, say about 25, 30 years when you were really starting in work, what would you want to do things? What would be that one or two things which you would want to redo differently?
Well, it's a good question, but I don't repent or have any particular wishes that I could have done. Whatever God has given us is more than enough. However, I am proud that I have been able to enhance the goodwill and reputation of our family and ancestors. So there is nothing special that I haven't even thought that had there been anything which I could have done and I could not do.
No, it's having read your book and or having reading your book as well as having heard your discussion, I find that you have done a whole lot of these things. So there you've had that variation which you've been able to live with, and you've been able to move with that time. So we thank you very much for your contribution to our knowledge and experiences, so that we can all learn from this and do things back better in the way we deal with our own employees and in our own organizations. Thank you, sir. And back to you.
Thank you so much, Shri Puri. And actually, I have a question for you since we were talking about what all is there in the book. What do you think? How this book can inspire the young entrepreneurs of the country? Since you have read the book and since you have come up with certain notions from the book, what do you think? How this book can inspire some young entrepreneurs of our country?
See, ma'am, the first and foremost striking thing which I found is that he comes out to be a person who does not feel contented with business, in being in one particular line of business. Having succeeded in one business, he has never sat back on his laurels and said, okay, let's do that, moved on to another line. So basically, a serial entrepreneur is what the basic this thing is. But what I find fascinating has been the range of businesses that he has done. Whether it's been technology or whether it's been textiles or whether it's been import and export or whether it's been brand building within domestic market. And that also in one of the fields where I feel that we do a lot. But he came in all of us off guard. And that is the main this thing, that he moved into a sector which in my sphere of business, which was in the security field, he was able to identify in advance a segment which was lying vacant, so to say, of surveillance, which he was able to foresee that that is going to be the future requirement. And he was able to build up this CP brand plus. And imagine the kind of tagline which he gave it. That tagline has actually caught imagination. And surprisingly, it also creates the entire business environment under that one tagline. These are the kind of things which people need to understand and they need to look at.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Puri, because I so do agree that one tagline of Upar Wala Sab Dekh Raha Hai actually embraces all the sections of our society. Let it be related with women's security, kids security, professionally, in offices, army, defense, everything. So yes, that's what, thank you so much, Mr. Khemka, for inspiring each one of us. Before I actually invite you to address our audience formally about the book, I have one personal question to ask you, and I'm really tempted to ask you that question, Mr. Khemka. What makes Marwadis so successful? Why Marwadis? What's there in the blood of Marwadis? What's the secret recipe? In the Forbes billionaire list, we have 1/4 of Marwadis. Globally, we have Marwadis all over the place. What makes you guys successful? Please tell us so that we also start eating the same thing.
See, actually, passion and sense of business always runs in the DNA of Marwadis. There is a tradition in the Marwadi families that when a new member becomes of age, the elders seek a new business line for him or trust some expansion plan for the existing business for him. Marwadis have always cared for their community, which in turn has helped everyone to grow. So Marwadis, the thing is that they have always supported the community, be it Birlas or anything. And the same way, then it helped the business to grow. And moreover, Marwadis all belong to Rajasthan, a particular sector, Shekhawati region and all, where in say about 70, 80 years ago, there was nothing much to do. And they were all enterprising. So they moved from there to maybe Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai, and also Bombay, all over India and also abroad. So, and when you go and settle in a city away from your home, you tend to spend the whole time for developing business. And that has really helped all the Marwadis to expand everywhere.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about the Marwadis' expansions and migration. But yes, that was a very clever answer. You still did not share the recipe with us so that we could have also used that recipe to become as successful as Marwadis. But thank you so much, definitely, for sharing your thoughts. Now, Mr. Khemka, I would like to formally invite you to tell us all about the book before we start asking questions, because we have some eminent journalists with us today and, of course, our panelists. Before we get into our questions and start deep diving, we would like to have your thoughts about your book. What do you have for our listeners, for our today's entrepreneurs?
Firstly, I would like to thank all the panelists, ASSOCHAM and HarperCollins for organizing the event. And I am thankful to the moderator as well for being a part of it. Friends, I wholeheartedly welcome you to become a part of my journey. It gives me immense pleasure to be with all of you on this platform today. On the Move captures my journey as an entrepreneur, sprinkled with anecdotes of my business challenges and triumphs. In this book, I have endeavored to present the entrepreneurial, spiritual, and family values vividly for the reader to gain from my learnings and experiences. A man's life has multiple facets to it. I have had a wholesome and enriching roles as a son, a husband, a father, and have been blessed with many good friends. In this book, I have enshrined all the learnings from these wholesome relationships as candidly as possible. Rest, you can go through the book and share your inputs.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khemka, for telling us all about what inspired you to become an author. And in fact, I have read your book because I was one of the fortunate ones to have the first few copies through HarperCollins. My first question to you is, you grew up in the lanes of Chandni Chowk, and from there, building CP Plus, India's biggest brand, the #1 brand with security and surveillance. If I ask you that, how do you want to sum up your journey, the experience, would you be able to help us with that?
I cannot sum up in few words now. I have already written, I think, part of my journey in my book. But still, since you have asked, I would say that I never thought that I would go into a security line. So today we are number one in security in India. We are probably number one with almost 95% market share in media and entertainment. We are one of the biggest players in professional audio because we represent Dolby in India. And of course, different softwares of the top companies globally. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Khemka, for clearly summarizes and paraphrasing for us your success over there. But we all know that recently we have been hit by a pandemic, and it has changed the face or the dynamics of the not just the Indian industry, but the global industry. So here, in fact, I would like to ask Dr. Batra. Dr. Batra, you must be meeting a lot of entrepreneurs and the industry stalwarts and different organizations. What are some of your thoughts about the disruption of the industry, the companies, the organization during pandemic? Do you think it's ever going to recover?
First of all, congratulations to you, Mr. Khemka. And I'm grateful to Ajay for inviting me and to ASSOCHAM, because thanks to them, I get to know about your journey and get your book. And, as I said, I have a special place for books in my life. Now, coming to your question, Dr. Mittal, first of all, these days, most of our meetings are virtual. Till about 10 days back, I was doing a lot of physical meetings again, but I've gone back to doing them virtual. I think pandemic has been a mixed bag. While I'm very sensitive to the challenges people have faced in terms of their health, in terms of what has happened with some of their families, and some people have faced in their businesses. So on the livelihood front and the life front, let me tell you, for a lot of people, COVID has been good. And let me give you 6 dimensions on why COVID has been good. One, we are in a 3C economy. And a lot of people have kind of thrived in the 3C economy. The 3C economy is a collaborative economy. You have to internally collaborate more than ever, externally collaborate more than ever, which has led to better kind of product and services. Second, it is a contactless economy, virtual economy, whatever you want to call it. So it has bring in the efficiencies and the scale of technology. Third, it is a compassionate / caring economy. So I think we are more kinder to ourselves and to others today. We are more sensitive to others. Work matters, it's not the most important thing. Money matters, profits matter, they're not the most important thing. What matters is a purpose, what matters is people, what matters is the planet. So that's the first. Second one is we've learned to live with less is more. We know in very little things we can live by. We don't have to go out, wine, dine. We can live without that, and we can be happy without that. I know there is a book on chapter on happiness, the 3rd chapter in Mr. Khemka's book. So we can be happy with less. Third is never say never. We don't know what we don't know, right? So, never say never. Oh, you cannot work. All the people cannot work from anywhere or home. It is possible. So clearly, we shouldn't put brick walls in our mind. They're there to be broken. Fourth, I keep saying that it's become like a mantra. And self-talk is very important. Is whenever it is dark, look for stars. Whenever it rains, look for rainbows. Even in this dark period, there are lots of rainbows and stars. So spot them. Fifth, it is very, very important is, I think it's the most important, is that, question every part of your life and your business. When you question that, because for the first time you slow down. When you slow down, you think more. I mean, I'm as busy I used to be virtually, but I actually still have more time to read, think, write. And that slowing down helps you in doing things better, not necessarily more, but better. So slowing down is good. I have also in the past made a virtue of overworking, being busy. I think we cannot take being busy, being active for progress. We have to look at real progress in a spiritual way. You're a coach. As long as you make a little bit progress every day, it helps. And my last, and the sixth most important, which is very relevant to, one of the key things that comes out in the book of Mr. Khemka is reinvention. It is kind of, even when he talks about exiting and not being emotionally involved and cutting your losses, there is a chapter in how he met a gentleman from LG in Dubai, a distributor friend of his introduced. And I remember in that chapter, he says, "Oh, I never sleep in the day." I resonate. I also never sleep in the day, sir. And, and there is a chapter on, how he got into business with Autodesk. Now, clearly the most important thing, the sixth chapter, the sixth point is that, you have to look at what is the progress you're making every day. And you have to be open to feedback, because really good ideas come from anywhere. So these are my top 6 learnings. And I think COVID for a lot of us has been good because we spend more time with families. Since the time I got married 20 plus years back, first time I spent 3.5 months with my parents at one stretch. I spent more time with myself. I've traveled less. So it's been good for my health. It's been good for my reading. It's been good for my business. Overall, the business has been impacted, but you have to look at it in relative shape. So I think COVID will create its winner. And one of the things we don't do is to give credit to our Prime Minister. When he talks about being Atmanirbhar, I mean, look at CP Plus is a truly Atmanirbhar product. It is a made in India brand, made for India and being taken to the world. And, he's invested in building a brand because the brands create the differentiator. No wonder the market leader by such a big margin. The campaign that he started, because brands get premiums, brands kind of de-risk your business, so to say. So clearly, the Prime Minister's call of being Atmanirbhar has raised our ambition. It has raised our consciousness. And the impact of it, you may not see in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. But I tell you, a lot of my young friends are dreaming more. A lot of my friends, and again, there's no age for entrepreneurship. He can still think a new business and do it. Baman Irani became an actor at 40. Captain Leela Nair entered the hospitality business when he was almost 50. So there are no rules today. So clearly when I talk to entrepreneurs, India remains the most vibrant spot. We are the most resilient economy. You can see what has happened in October, November. And I promise you in 2022, in 18 months from now, we'll be back in the pink of health. Mid next year, the government will start to do huge public spending. It will have a viral impact. Also, the Indians have saved a lot. Look at the returns in gold over last few months, So Indians have saved a lot. That will at some stage manifest in spending and give a boost to the economy. And Tanmay in the government relations space, at some stage, the government will start spending soon when there is a vaccine and when it knows by creating demand in certain sectors, it won't create a healthcare issue. So I'm very optimistic about India. My friends who I talk to are very optimistic about India. And I don't like cynical people. I'm not saying don't ask questions, don't be cautious. There should be, but there is a thin line between being cautiously optimistic and being cynical. I'm very optimistic about India, about what this government is doing, what it needs to do better. There are areas that it needs to do better, but it's getting a lot of things right. I think the government does not get enough credit for what it has done. So I think look at the amount of money flowing into India. I think I'm making a prediction 2021 will see more money being invested in India than it has ever seen in any calendar year. Forget 2022. So a little long answer, but here it is.
No, but I think your answer completely resonates with your profile that actually says that you are an optimist all-rounder. So thank you so much. For me, the biggest takeaway out of your 6 learnings are: 1, empathy. Yes, of course, we need to be empathetic and slowing down. But yes, still I would want to have my wine and dine back. But coming back to Mr. Khemka, Mr. Batra just spoke about the virtual reality. And your book talks about a traditional way of learning, which is Mundi. Firstly, we would want to know about Mundi. What was it? And my second related question with that would be, would you recommend the same learning for our today's budding entrepreneurs or young generation? Because they are headed towards the best of the B schools globally. So what are your thoughts about it?
Well, actually, the Mundi was a traditional accounting language in the Marwadis for many years. I would say many people did away with that probably in 60s or 70s. But some people continued till about end of 80s. It's a typical word where you don't have, it's like Hindi. उसमें मात्रा नहीं होगी and you write the words which people who know Mundi can understand. So when I joined business, maybe in 1973, all our accounts were done on a Bahi Khata and the language used was Mundi. So our main accounts guy, he told me that must learn Mundi to so that you can know what account books are saying and whatever thing is there that becomes clear to you. But in today's world, it is irrelevant. Why should we keep Mundi as a language? I never told my children, even mentioned them to learn Mundi. So it's, out of place now. That if you write Mundi, today is a computer age, and moreover, we are going towards a paperless office. So Mundi is not relevant. And as I said, I always believed that we should always change because change is the only constant.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khemka. In fact, you take us back to the new adage which has come that from built to last, it should be built to adapt. We should be highly agile to be adaptable. In fact, on that note comes my invitation to Mr. Chakrabarti. Mr. Chakrabarti, I would like to invite you to have any question for Mr. Khemka from his book.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Mittal. Khemka ji, I have been listening with a lot of interest to your journey of your life. And I've had the privilege of having 3 of my schoolmates who have also been very eminent Marwadis who have made it in their lifetime and, of course, grown their parental business. One is Harshvardhan Neotia, the other is Hemant Kanoria, and the third is Harshvardhan Patodia. So I have seen them, grown up with them in Calcutta, and I have seen, and your journey completely resonates with the DNA that you explained and described of what is embedded in the Marwadi philosophy of life, of growing what you get from your ancestors and from your previous generations. So my point to you is that I think many entrepreneurs who are going to read your book, as well as some of them who are in the audience in this virtual session, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that as Anurag said, that normally a surveillance business you would ascribe to products coming in from China. But I was so inspired to hear that 80% of your entire technology is being manufactured in your own factory in Tirupati. And it is a true embodiment of the spirit of India that you want to really build domestic capability and capacity, and not only deliver in India, but also to the rest of the world. And to my mind, if I can just not ask you a question, but have an observation, I think the biggest outcome that your business is going to have as an impact on India, as you increase your reach of surveillance systems around the country, is that in effect, you are actually going to bring order to the chaos. I think that is the larger impact and outcome of your business, because everywhere that you are going to install surveillance systems, currently there is a state of chaos. And this technology helps to bring order. For example, if a road is there and you CCTV that road, and you mention the notice saying this road is under CCTV surveillance, automatically it brings discipline to the drivers who are either lane swerving or speeding or doing many other things that they are not supposed to be doing. So, in effect, what your industry that you represent and the implementations that you will do in the rest of the country, and especially with the Supreme Court order, to my understanding, is actually you are a catalyst to be able to bring order to the chaos that we have, which is existing in India. So I compliment you for choosing this technology early on. You actually were a pioneer early days of surveillance business of India, and today it is going to cascade and multiply with this Supreme Court ruling, and I wish you the very best for it. So I have no questions. I have listened to all your statements with a lot of avid interest, and I wish you the very best. And I encourage young budding entrepreneurs to read your book and to be able to imbibe some of the characteristics and the journey that you've taken. If it can draw and be an inspiration for some others, I think you would have fulfilled your life's experience sharing with others in the form of this book. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chakravarti, for coming up with actually the second law of thermodynamics, which also says that chaos always leads to order. And that's what precisely is happening with our surveillance industry as well. And I'm sure Mr. Khemka's book would bring in a lot of order for a lot of us. And I'm sure it would have a cascading effect. Mr. Khemka, I have another question for you, because the last chapter of your book talks about philanthropy. What are some of your thoughts on philanthropy? I see in the book, I have read it, you're involved with Marwari Charitable Trust in education towards animals. I think we call it Gaushala. And I know you are actively involved in all these philanthropic activities, especially education. So what are some of your thoughts about philanthropy? Is it something relatable with 2% CSR activities, or you actually look for going much beyond that?
Well, he is a Marwari culture. Even before CSR. So I naturally inherited these values from my ancestors. My mother, despite being traditional, had a very generous approach towards philanthropy. So I inherited these qualities from her. And I firmly believe in philanthropic work. Of course, we do 2% mandatory CSR, which also becomes a substantial amount. But I would never restrict myself to 2%. If some project for society is good, we are going to go beyond 2%. As you said, now I am associated with Hari Khemka Development Trust, which has initiatives like our Khemka Kuldevi Temple and Khemka International School, where we charge only 50% school fees from the girl students. It is again within the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao program of the Prime Minister. Then I am also president of Marwari Charitable Trust, which is a very old trust in Chandni Chowk, which runs a primary school, a senior school, a hospital, and a heritage library. So, in fact, I would also like to include healthcare in my philanthropic endeavors, since I feel that education and healthcare are the two segments that require immense social contribution in our country. Yeah.
Congratulate you, because your book really resonates with women empowerment. You have dedicated your book to your mother, who has been an inspiration, to your late wife. I know your daughter is an entrepreneur herself. You are supporting girls' education. So with this book, do you have any message for the young women entrepreneurs or young women generation for our country as well?
Well, actually, now with the change of times, earlier, the women were confined to house chorus and working at home. Now they can equally rub shoulders with the men, and they can go places. There are so many examples of women excelling in their fields. So I would tell all the women not to just confine themselves to the home, and should come out, and if they have talent, let them do whatever field they want to do. The 50 Beti Bachao Beti Padhao program in Rajasthan was that especially in Rajasthan and few other states, women are not supposed to go out of house and work. Even they don't encourage education. So this is one thing we said that we will give 50% fees and you pay 50% and send the girls to the school so that they get education and become at par with the world.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khemka, for actually supporting our Honorable Prime Minister's move as well towards women entrepreneurs. Thank you so much. And now I would like to take a quick 1 minute to introduce our panelist, Kumar Vikram Singh, who has joined us. I welcome you wholeheartedly, Kumar Vikram Singh. He is the chairman for Central Association of Private Security Industry, CAPSI. Kumar Vikram is chairman of Security Sector Skill Development Council. He is also the chairman of Central Association of Private Security Industry, an apex body of private security sector. Apart from these, he has also got various other designations in his quiver. He is a director of Punjab Police Security Corporation Limited, a venture of the government of Punjab. Kumar Vikram Singh is chairman of Lancers Network Limited, a risk consulting corporation. He is the president of World Association of Detectives. He was advisor, internal security to Prime Minister of India from 1990 to 91. He is the author of World Encyclopedia of Security Science and Management, 7 volumes. He is also a member of the UN Standing Committee on Civilian Private Security Role in Crime Prevention and Community Safety. He was sent as an official delegate to represent Government of India at the 21st and 22nd UN Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice held at UN's Vienna International Center. It's an absolute honor and privilege to have you with us, Kumar Vikram Singh. We would like you to address our audience and of course to Sri Hari Khemka if you have any thoughts about his book On the Move. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Megha, for introducing me. Sorry for coming late into the your system here. Whatever I have learned about Mr. Hari Khemka, I know him. And the way he has progressed, the way he has maneuvered his business enterprises, it is amazing. And I mean, so the way he has, from one sector or other, and being so successful for manufacturing, for trading, commodities, everything, and ultimately coming to the security domain also. This is something very good. A person who's so successful in his various kinds of venture has ultimately must have realized that security sector is the one sector where you need a very robust system to protect country, society, people, and enterprises. Once they are protected properly, it's only that you progress economically. It is basically the economic leader that needs the right protection. Obviously, that is something which is lacking in India, that the system of, corporate defense strategy system is missing, where the government has not much role to play, where a private security entrepreneurs, those who are providing security services, and they are the one who is now, they have come very successfully during the pandemic. They've been declared as essential services. We did a wonderful job. It is amazing the Prime Minister is so happy with the services. We are happy ourselves, how we protected corporate, how we protected people also. We saved in a situation where there is unemployment of, say, 27 million people due to the COVID. But our sector tried the best to contain people to serve, and they stayed on. They stayed on to a factory under the worst condition. And now we are totally on the same line as Mr. Hari Khemka is a very successful. His campaign was amazing. Upar wala dekh raha hai, और नीचे वाले तो हम देखने वाले खेमका जी, ऊपर वाले से आप, नीचे वाले हम सब चौकीदार लगे हुए हैं देखने के लिए, और आपका तो हमारा बिल्कुल सिस्टम ठीक बन गया है. Or just say you have gone from one sector to other sector, one business to other sector. I am just simply waiting. Then when will you start a private security agency? It's going to be very successful because our growth rate is 22%. It's going to grow. is going to grow. A person who's a great Barbari. I had a privilege of being known to a couple of great Barbari business people. They are amazing people. I know them so well closely, how their mind work, and the mind works so nicely. Absolutely. And they are very fine people. With your coming into our domain, you're most welcome. Tell me, we can always sit and talk to start a new venture for you. That is, move on the move, but move on to the private security sector. Let us see, looking forward to that day also. But you are an amazing personality. I'm very happy to see you and listen to you, your philanthropic activities, your business acumen. I'm proud of you, totally, Mr. And I'm happy that you've written such a book, which will become a reference book for people to progress in this country. Thank you very much. Nice talking to you, seeing you.
Thank you so much, Kumar Vikram Singh. And I think I'm just afraid that what you have done is you've just given another idea to Mr. Khemka to come up with his next venture. He is known as a relentless entrepreneur. That's the subtitle of the book. And I think that's precisely you have done. You have incepted the seeds for the next venture for him. Yes, Mr. Khemka. In fact, I want to ask you this question. Your book clearly talks about you being a relentless entrepreneur, my journey as a relentless. Does this relentless resonates being restless? What does it mean?
If you want to diversify in a certain line, then you have to be relentless. You have to be on your toes, and a lot of hard work, market evaluation, and everything is done. And one thing which I learned now from Dr. Batra is never say never. So what Kumar Vikram Singh said, so maybe I'm not sure. I've never thought about it, but I think it can be. So other thing which I say is that success in business is a combination of ambition, passion, self-confidence, and sincerity. But the most important ingredient is never say die attitude. It is this attitude that enabled me to attempt several entrepreneurial adventures and take the many challenges that I faced into my stride and kept me striving for more. I feel that this feeling should never die, and one should always be restless for expanding. However, in our community, we give more prominence to ethics and relationships. As a Marwari tradition, now I have passed on the baton to my two sons who have equal hunger for both expansion as well as diversification.
Absolutely. So you have given diversification as your success mantra to all of us. And I have my last question to you, and I'm really tempted to ask that question because your last chapter talks about you have been diverging yourself into golf philanthropy. Do you plan to retire or no? Or it's going to be on the move ever?
I can't say on the move ever, but of course, I am open to any new ventures and business ideas as India is at the right stage economically and poised to grow exponentially. Like Dr. Batra said, our Prime Minister is very pragmatic, and all the schemes that he is giving, right from Make in India to, other things like Beti Bachao, many things, and also now recently Atmanirbhar, which is something very good. And India should not depend like we for security products. We were dependent on China. Then we put up a factory under Make in India scheme. Then we started importing key components from China. But our main focus was to make Indian products. So we slowly we went to 40% Indianized, then 50, then 60. Now it is 70% Indian components in our security products which are manufactured there. Secondly, with this, I would say, antitrust factor, which developed because of the recent things from China, not only with India, but all over the world. So I think it must have given some indirect benefit to us. Like people are preferring things which are made in India rather than things which are imported from China. Because from Chinese cameras and all, they have their servers in China. So there is a security concern also. So I think that is what, and even my both sons, they are looking after their both different separate lines, and I would look on to them for execution of any such new initiative, as you said. Retirement, of course, you never know, but as long as you can work, you should work.
Absolutely, Mr. Khemka. That's the zeal and the enthusiasm you have actually spread it to all of us. Your energy, your thought process is absolutely contagious. And in fact, you take us back to the old belief that leader is not the one who creates more followers. Leader is actually the one who creates more leaders. And that's what I can definitely anticipate from your book On the Move over there. So congratulations. And I wish heartiest luck to the book for the success. Before I hand it over and invite Mr. Puri to come and give us a word of thanks, I would like to thank all our audience over here for their participation, and of course our esteemed panel of the industry stalwarts for participating today. I would like to invite Dr. Puri, Mr. Puri over here to have a vote of thanks for all of us. Thank you.
Dr. Mittal, may I just come in? Ajay from ASSOCHAM.
Absolutely, Mr. Sharma.
Mr. Puri, excuse me. I had few questions from Khemka Sahab because I thought this is an apt opportunity, having amongst us a very successful entrepreneur. Sir, may I have a couple of questions for you, sir?
Sure, sure.
Sir, one is that what made you write this book? Because many entrepreneurs, they have this ongoing journey. So they never pause to write a book. And looking at you being so young, so I thought, what made you write this book at this stage of your life? And secondly, what is your understanding about the present Indian economy and where you see post-COVID heading towards? Thank you so much.
Well, for your first question, actually, since I had gone through a lot of struggles, hard work, and of course, ups and downs in my life, I thought, let me pen down my journey and experiences for the benefit of the youngsters and entrepreneurs so that they can learn from my experiences rather than committing some mistake. Moreover, from the very beginning, I have been used to put, I think you must have seen in my book, to put everything in black and white. And so my book was written even for the future generations to come.
The Indian economy, being a successful entrepreneur, where do you see Indian economy heading post COVID-19? Thank you.
I would, as I said earlier, because of the schemes of our Prime Minister, Indian economy is poised to grow. You must have heard that from everyone like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. He used the word tsunami of foreign investments. So India has still a lot of potential. And during this COVID, once we open up, the vaccine comes and things ease down, there is going to be a very prominent growth in all sectors. Because some sectors which might have some lesser percentage of growth, like hospitality, travel, like airlines, but we see that everything is moving back to normal. And once things improve, there will be a tremendous growth in all sectors in India. So Indian economy is on a very strong footing, and it will grow once the situation eases.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khemka, and heartiest congratulations once again. Over to you, Mr. Puri. Thank you.
Sir, it's lovely to have been able to hear your various comments on various aspects. And as Kamal Vikram Singh, who is our chairman of our Association of Security Agencies, said, कि ऊपर वाला देख रहा है, and we are on the ground. As we, in any case, are actually partnering with your company to be able to provide the reaction on ground to whatever comes up on the surveillance. So having said that, that's a separate thing. What I would like to thank you, sir, for is that you've really been a very fascinating person who's explained a lot of things. But one thing which I found fantastic about this thing is that you've been able to explain that empathy is the base of life. And empathy must also form the basis of business. This aspect which you have tried to say and you've tried to put across in your book has actually been very interesting and inspiring. And I think that is one basic thing which a lot of us would like to be able to focus on, and we need to focus on for the country's benefit. Today, as you said, that your company CP Plus has become the household name. It is really fascinating to hear that despite doing all this, you're taking time out both for the CSR activities, which are beyond, as you said, the need of the 2% limits that are there. That is very interesting because that is actually, in my opinion, a very good way to be able to pay back to society, where you have spent so much of your time and earned your laurels and you've earned your respect. And today you're being able to bring it out to the forefront. So I'd like to thank you for sharing your story with us, which has been a very captivating story. And I think I voiced the views of everyone over here when I say that it has really been wonderful having you here. And I would like to thank ASSOCHAM to bring this entire forum here so that all of us could hear from you and share your journey. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Puri, for expressing the vote of thanks. And absolutely, Mr. Khemka, as Mr. Puri rightly said, that your story is fascinating, inspiring, and captivating for each one of us out there. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today and patiently attending our today's book launch, On the Move, which would actually mean on the move.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Dr. Mittal, thank you. Mr. Puri, Kumar Vikram Singh ji, Khemka Saab, Dr. Batra, thank you all, and look forward to many more interactions in the future. Please stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.